Today I'm going to be reviewing this smartphone gimbal from Zhiyun, which features an AI camera tracker, which means it can track you without having to use your phone. So you can use any app you want to on your phone, including your default camera app. So in this review, we'll be testing out the gimbal, going through all the features. I'll test out the tracker and see how well that works, and the apps that you can use with it that are made by Zhiyun. Before that, let's take a look in the box. Included in this combo is the gimbal, an AI magnetic attaching tracker, a tripod for the bottom of the gimbal, a USB lead for charging and connecting to a computer, and a 12-month Prime membership. No, not Amazon Prime. This is Zhiyun's Prime membership, which gives you extra features on one of their apps. There are 3 options for buying this gimbal. Only 2 come with the AI tracker. I have the combo, and that comes with everything you've seen in the box. But then there is also the Pro package, which comes with an extra light, which magnetically attaches similar to the AI tracker, and also a case for the gimbal. Now, before we use the gimbal, we have to get the phone balanced. Now, this is a lot simpler than most gimbals where you have to balance 3 different axes. This, you only have to balance 2. To balance it, you simply slide left and right on one axis, and the other one, the phone clip, actually moves up and down, and then you can get your phone nice and balanced. One thing I did notice when attaching the phone to the phone clamp that comes with this and is part of the gimbal is it's quite tight on the motor, and this is only a concern if you're wanting to plug in a USB mic or if you're trying to plug in from the gimbal itself. The gimbal has a USB out to help you keep your phone charged whilst you're using it, and as you can see, it's pushing the phone quite far out if you then try and attach a USB cable, especially if you've got a large phone like mine, like the 15 Pro Max. However, what you can do is buy a right-angled USB-C adapter to make this a little bit better. One nice thing is all the motors do lock into place if you're transporting this or walking around with it when it's turned off, which is great to stop the motors spinning around. Another thing to note is you do need to mount the phone in the orientation that you're going to be filming in first before turning the gimbal on, because the clip doesn't spin once the phone is butted up against the motor. So you want to either be shooting in landscape or set it up for portrait and shoot that way and then turn off in between. If you do want to quickly grab some portrait shots in landscape mode, you can just tilt the gimbal sideways and it will go into a sideways portrait mode. And that brings me neatly on to the controls and the features of this gimbal. On the side you have the focus and zoom wheel, and depending on the app, this can be used to either control the zoom or the focus or even the roll. So in the Stacam app, which is Zhiyun's more filmy app, this can control the zoom, the focus and the roll axis of the gimbal, and then you just press the button to switch between these. And in the ZYCami app, which is their more fun and friendly app, you can just control the zoom or the roll. There isn't any focus control. If you single press the trigger, it will activate the tracking in the Cami app. If you double press the trigger, it will recenter. So if you've moved the gimbal around and tilted or rolled it, and then if you double tap, it will reset to how it was by default. Triple tapping on the trigger will spin it around completely 180 degrees to point towards you in a sort of selfie mode. And 4 taps spins it around but has the front screen facing you of your phone, so you can still do sort of vlogs but be able to see yourself with the screen. And if you hold the trigger, it will activate the sport mode, which just makes all the motors really super responsive, and in my opinion, that's not great. You want it to be nice and smooth and slow and cinematic, and that's not what you get in that mode. Maybe useful for some people, but for me personally, not my thing. You also have the selection wheel, which works in the apps and also controls the intensity of the light once you've pressed the light button. As you can see, you can turn it up and down. The FN button, that can be used to open up the footage menu in the Stacam app, or if you want to, you can reset the Bluetooth if you click that 5 times. And on the side, there is a small screw mount for mounting a small friction arm if you want to hold a microphone, for example. This is just a little plastic screw hole, so maybe not something too heavy. There's a record button on the gimbal which starts recording in all apps, not just Zhiyun's own camera apps. And then there's the joystick, which allows you to tilt and pan without moving the gimbal. Now, there isn't exactly a display with this, but there is a light up indicator of different modes that you're in. You've got the pan follow mode, and that only pans left and right. It ignores any other inputs that you do for tilting, for example. There's the locked mode. Now this just stays pointing directly where you were pointing, and it ignores all tilts, pans, movements. This could be useful if you wanted to do a sort of fake jib crane shot up and down. There's the follow mode, which is really the main mode of most gimbals. This allows you to tilt and to pan, and that way when you're moving around you can focus on an object and not have to use the joystick, for example. The POV mode includes all that, but adds roll, so you can roll the camera as well, which could be fun for some fun shots, but you wouldn't want to put it in this mode all the time. And if you do want to do a specific barrel roll, then you could just put it into the vortex mode, which is the final mode, and that, as you can see, makes the gimbal lie flat, and you can use the joystick to then do a barrel roll. So far, so gimbal, right? Let's talk about the standout feature, which is the AI tracker. There are already phone gimbals on the market that can track using their own apps, and you just select. And you can even do this with this gimbal using the ZYCami app. You just draw a box over what you want to track, and the camera app will track that. The exciting thing about this one, though, is that you don't need to use that app, or indeed any app. You can just use your default camera app, and all the tracking is done through the gimbal. So the little AI tracker is just a little magnetic attachment, and you pop it on either above or below the phone in landscape mode, or to the side of the phone in portrait mode. So how do you use the AI tracker? Well, you just use simple hand gestures. So an OK gesture will start tracking you, and this is great, but it does sort of center you weirdly in the frame, so your head's in the middle of the frame. It leaves you with a lot of headroom. Normally you wouldn't leave as much headroom, as you can see, like in this shot. There isn't a lot of headroom, but there's enough, and this sort of centers you like this. To stop tracking, you simply put your hand up in a sort of stop motion. There is another gesture, the framing gesture, which will then frame you however you are stood in the frame, which is a lot nicer than the OK one, which sort of puts you center. This way you can frame yourself up correctly and then start the tracking. The only problem is, as you can see, that takes two hands. So if you were filming yourself with the gimbal and you wanted to keep the framing and not put yourself center of frame by doing the OK gesture, I don't think you could really do that because you're using one hand. So one suggestion that hopefully could be updated in firmware would be to have the OK mode be custom, so you can change the framing, or have the framing so your head isn't in the middle of the frame, it's on the sort of top third of frame rather. And if you just do the V symbol, it will start the recording on your phone, and that works in any app, similar to the record button on the gimbal. The controls on the gimbal do work with several apps, so the ZYCami app and the Stacam app, which are both made by Zhiyun, and also the Filmmaking Pro app has some controls that work too. However, the great thing is, as I've said, the AI tracker does a lot of the tracking for you, and you don't need to use an app, so you're free to use whatever app you like. And here I'm using the Blackmagic camera app, as I have done in previous videos, as I find it really great because you can record in Apple Log, or if you don't want to, you can just use H.265, and there's a lot of nice options in that for video. The ZYCami app is nice and easy for beginners. It's got lots of tutorials built in, and the great thing is it has built-in motion time lapses and hyperlapses, so you can do that with your phone camera, and it will activate the camera and create that all for you inside the app whilst moving the phone around with the gimbal. The Stacam app is designed for video and is very similar to Filmmaking Pro in that you can change a lot of the settings, like your shutter speed or ISO or things like that. Personally, I'm using the Blackmagic camera app, and there is plenty of apps available now. The battery life on this gimbal is, like a lot of gimbals, really great. Over 26 hours standby time. It will reduce down to 7 hours if you're using the AI tracker and both the fill light, but even that's like a full day usage, so I don't think the battery life is something you would need to worry about. Overall, this gimbal is a great package. I think everything works as it should, it's well made. And if you're considering one, then do look in my description link below for affiliate links to help support the channel. Zhiyun very kindly sent me this gimbal out to review. However, they didn't pay me, they didn't tell me what to say, and they are seeing this video at the same time as you are. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.